Shirley here with Sirius Talisman. This is Mars hour. Um, Mercury night, and the ascendant is next to Regulus. Mercury is trining Chiron and Aries, and the moon is 6 degrees Sag, releasing from opposition to Uranus. Um, I I came to talk about one topic, and then I opened the internet, and an article jumped, and it was about Israeli soldiers going to therapy. And I I will be, for the context of what I want to say, I'm going to take the full-blown analogy of Nazi Germany. Even if it doesn't compare, and even if it's not about being correct on the one-to-one, but about the essence of the healing from something. So the soldiers that come back from playing the role that, um, whether it's correct or not, um, is the Nazi, the rapist, the attacker on the light. They go to therapy, and a man that was meeting them as therapists said, patients began to ask me, I also hurt, and they meant sexually. So I'm like Hamas? To which I reply, and with the most tenderness, yes. Absolutely, yes. This is the essence of what makes you like Hamas. This is in fact why there was a war. If you're trying to meet your needs by raping, and underneath sexual needs, there are emotions, and underneath those emotions, there are needs. Anger is a boundary. Naturally, if you meet your anger by raping, then you perpetuate the situation, which is a boundary crossed. And if you rape now, another boundary is crossed. Now there is more anger. And eventually the anger shifts sides. It doesn't just spread itself like a disease, but it has a telos and contracts. Okay, just like Adolf Hitler, he conquered almost all entire planet, and then it was expansion and contraction. So you can imagine the trauma that Hitler went through. This trauma has a name, it's called satanic ritual abuse. And the CIA's MK Ultra, using technology today, Palantir, tomorrow another, if we don't stop it, to do the exact same. And none of the people is exempt from being that Nazi soldier that comes back from the battlefield and understands that they are just like the rapist from the other religion, group, color, culture. And the topic I actually came to talk about was the children. There are today children that are created with the intention that they are going to be servants of a system. The last times it happened, we had uptick in autistic children, neurodivergent children, and children that are just, when it comes to work, are good for nothing. There's something in the economy. In the economy of needs, or where people monetize to extinction. There's nothing wrong with monetizing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with being prosperous. But there has to be compatibility. That abundance comes from somewhere, and it's not rape. Also, not the stealing of creative energies of another. And so the children that will be born right now, if you think autistic children and neurodivergent children, these children will be way worse. What do I mean worse? Worse for the system. They will be children that are going to be the antithetical for the reason that these children were created. And many people want to be parents, and they have to understand something about, with parenting, you give and you give and you give. And when maybe you get a hug from the children, with autistic children, you don't even get that sometimes. And this is because the hug that the parent wants to get is not from a child, and it's not their fault. It's the aftermath of wars. But it's not the aftermath of wars only, it's the economy. A person comes to receive a human touch, they're willing to pay money, but there's no one to give them that touch even when they pay. And they're fractured, unsatisfied, broken, because the person that they paid to was trafficked. Whether they are in their wedding bed or in a red light district. And the work that was made to keep people from manifesting, meeting their needs in actually adaptable way, is on a medical level. You know this disease when the bones begin to have less vitamins. I think it's not carbon. It's a structure that begins to go. You think about the stones, they begin to evaporate because nothing holds that structure together, and it's happening to the bones. bone marrow. Of course, the slavery of the Masons actually causes bone marrow diseases, and the blessings won't help. They have to abolish slavery. Actually, the mother of my biological father, she died from such disease, and it had to do with creativity. My grandmother died from diabetes. My mother's mother. Both ladies were married way too early. Both women took care of children, perhaps a bit too soon. And they were good mothers and loving or good people, but it doesn't compensate for the internal void that showed itself in the bones of my father's mother, who came from Maghreb. The parents were from Libya and Algeria. For my biological father. My grandmother, from my father's side, my I did not know her. I was very young when the parents divorced. So I don't know how she passed. I know she passed away, but I don't know how. Um, and family affiliated with church. She was Christian, devoted Christian. And my grandmom had diabetes and depression. Now, both the bone disease and diabetes have to do with creation. Now, my grandmother, she was a cook and then worked in a genuine textile factory. She worked for Gotex in Jacuba, but but it was genuinely a textile factory. But the thing is that the internal inner joy of creation, somehow when it came to love, was not expressed fully. And with my biological father grandma, um, she was just too young. Okay, she was a good mom, she was an amazing woman, also amazing cook, but the bone marrow is because internally it's a disease to do with creation, creativity, and when the womb is violated too soon, it harms the creative power. And unfortunately, I don't know what the circles, but when they harm the creative power, it harms the bone marrow. Also of those who do that, because they take on the diseases. And so the children, because they are deprived of what they need to be, they will continuously compensate for that. An autistic child needs care, unconditional care, without any expectation that they will ever be able to give back in an expectable manner. An autistic girl, at a certain level of functioning, she will never be able to be a mom or to take care of husband. Definitely not. And if the attacker, what the autistic children do, they become very violent. Because in a place that doesn't accommodate for life, those compensation mechanisms. Because when people expect the child to provide life, not be provided with life, to provide life. That's the Rosicrucian rituals. They feed on the life of children, and they constantly need children to feed on. So their food becomes less and less nourishing. And because they are supposed to be providers for the world, the people who run the world, the people who have the most resources, are supposed to be providers, supposed to be the bigger providers. And they can't accommodate for that because they try to enslave people, and people are born free. So medically, it begins to deteriorate. And then they have to give euthanasia to a lot of people as per their perspective because they can't accommodate for the life, for the living. A child needs love. Even if the, and then these children grow 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. And when you try to monetize their existence, you will be buried in the ground because you try to bury yourself in soil that's not nourishing for you because you're rapist. So what that soil will do is consume you, so it will be nourishing. And this is how incubus and succubus are born. People go to a sex worker, it's a trafficked child. Trafficked child, they need to feed on energy. Now they expect to be fed by the energy of the child. It's not what happens. And then they say, they pull out Christianity. Don't rape. Now, if people use the sexuality to feed on another person's energy, now in a good sex encounter, there is a give-give. And then there is orgasm. Orgasm is explosion. It's give, and then it's orgasmic. Also with self-pleasure. Person gives to self, relaxes into self, and then there's a kundalini rise. If there are no rapists around them. And so the children that will be born will be needing way more love, and they will not be able to give back They will be able to give a hug if they are hugged, but only if they are hugged in a way that is actually caring, not possessing, not needing. And it's not about blame. In astrology, we say the moon of the caregiver is usually before the moon of those that they care to. In families after war, you see the opposite. And then people spend all their life suicidal, not even knowing why. And then they grow up, people try, or they don't grow up, and people try to meet sexual needs through them, not wondering why they manifest mass death. Because if you are a rapist, then only mass death will put an end to all rape, as per the child that is in such situation. Because it's a need. They have need to be saved and honored and cared for as a child. And then comes a person and rapes them. They want to meet their sexual needs through a child. So these children will be very, 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 very autistic and very violent. They will have anger fits that will ruin entire houses because the ritual abuse was made for real estate and resources, and they will begin to ruin the resources. And then you say, what? These children are ruining everything given to them. Yes, because you try to rape them. Also women, you give a woman this, you give a woman that, you give a woman that. Why is she not happy? Because you try to rape her. There are other needs that need to be met. Maybe she just needs to be a child and not even sexual for a couple of decades even. Then this woman begins to steal your energy. You want to feed on her energy, she begins to steal your energy. Or then this woman manifests your death. She says your orgasm will be your murder because you are a rapist. And indeed, extortion cults are used for political assassination.